A lot of people don't understand how bell curves work and how you don't need the people who aren't very valuable. That's why the only thing valuable about being unvaluable is that you can be thrown away.
This week, the Board Game League's progress through the dark hobby fantasy game Monster by Kingdom Death took some surprisingly dark twists. Our settlement, Zeus Lenox, which was named in the spirit of compromise and fellowship and founded on the principle of finding a middle ground between the high and the low, confronted some of the darker demons of its nature this week.
There was a lot of back chatter between certain factions who,
really lost.
who could never seem to agree on certain aspects of decision-making within the settlement.
When we picked up where we left off last week, in the middle of a pitched battle, a number of survivors who nobody had really thought too much about previously earned distinction for themselves. Lucky Sunshine, the once anonymous mother of Blobosop, rose to prominence during the battle.
Well, and I feel like she also got a lot of really good hits in the battle.
She did.
Really set it up for the kill, so I feel like she really pulled her weight this week.
Lucky Sunshine's child, Blobosop, also showed remarkable bravery.
Hashtag pray for Blobosop.
Wendy, the Bone Witch, ultimately brought the monster down.
Who took the kill shot?
That would be Wendy.
But not before prehistoric Grungy Mouse bought the farm.
Not good. But I think she went down swinging, right?
Yeah.
She got some hits in, took a few for the team before we lost her.
The survivor Maleficent, in spite of literally crippling injuries, fought valiantly against the Screaming Antelope, but ultimately was crushed, devoured, and killed, bringing the total death count from the battle to 2. After their costly victory, the survivors returned. Blobosop, Wendy, Lucky Sunshine, Clark Kent, Porum, and Borat were preparing to cannibalize Maleficent and prehistoric Grungy Mouse, in accordance with the settlement's oldest and most sacred traditions, when they were confronted with an unexpected crisis.
Yeah, I don't know why Borat waited in the wings this whole time, sat out the whole battle, and then pulled the plague card. I felt like...
Borat drew the settlement event card called Plague, which requires the nomination of 4 survivors who are afflicted by disease and who die at the end of the settlement phase if the settlement is unable to innovate ammonia, which would at least give the afflicted a shot at recovery and survival.
Well, I mean, that's the worst thing we could have gotten.
Ultimately, 4 survivors were nominated to be afflicted by plague. One-Armed Janus, Mook, the mysterious figure known only as the Stone King, and Jeff's survivor, Porum, were all afflicted. The survivor, Sexy Dog, whose famous appeals to efficiency have swayed the group on innumerable occasions in the past, convinced the group that those survivors marginalized by disability and weakness, the most vulnerable members of our society, should bear the brunt of the horrible disease.
Okay, so the only thing that's good about them is that they're there to get thrown away. It's not what I do, that's what the disease does.
Clark Kent led the charge to innovate, attempting to build consensus that all survivor lives matter.
When we all start dying off because of all the plagues, we'll need it. We'll need it. When I'm thinking about my society and the survivors that we still need to have to fight all the monsters, we need to save as many as possible.
The survivor Sexy Dog spoke out against the innovation of ammonia.
Would you say you're really mad about not doing the hovel?
I would say I'm slightly mad, yeah. I mean, we have to really get a bell curve of survivors. Some bad, some good, mostly okay.
Ultimately, Clark Kent was able to curry favor among the voting survivors, and ammonia was innovated. Some of the returning survivors, however, chose not to spend their endeavor tokens on curing the sick. The survivors Janus and Mook were cured of the disease. The Stone King and Porum were not.
I feel like we all have our own ideas of what it should be, and then we fight for those ideas. I don't think that it's democracy, but I don't think it's...
I don't know what Zeus Lenox you're living in. It's not my Zeus Lenox.
Next week, hopefully strengthened by bitter internecine conflict and empowered by newly innovated ammonia, the survivors will venture out to hunt monsters as a team again. Will they stand united? Or will they be divided and conquered? And what are they going to do next year, while plague continues to ravage the settlement and the butcher shows up to start chopping off survivor faces and making them into a belt of faces?